NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte spoke with Donald Trump, President of the United States. The President and Secretary General discussed the critical need for a settlement on Ukraine to be enduring. They recognized the valiant Ukrainian defense since the full-scale invasion in 2022, which was enabled by the assistance of America and its allies, starting with the Javelin anti-tank missiles provided in the first Trump administration. Great to talk with Donald Trump. US and NATO are getting stronger. NATO allies are moving quickly to invest more in defense. Big increases announced and others to follow, Rutte said on X. On Ukraine, allies are preparing billions more in aid and contributions to security guarantees, he added. Recall, NATO allies spent more than €50 billion on military support to Ukraine in 2024, according to internal data shared with Euractiv, but the impact on the battlefield is still difficult to determine. The figure means NATO members have exceeded their initial target of sending €40 billion worth of military support to Ukraine. The €40 billion target was meant to match the amounts the alliance had spent in previous years since the war in Ukraine started in February 2022. Last year saw Ukraine take delivery of US-made fighter jets, Patriot air defense systems, and other high-end capabilities. However, it is unclear into which capabilities NATO's €50 billion spending figure can be translated, or how much impact it can have in giving Ukraine an advantage on the battlefield. As Europeans are repeating public statements that promise increased defense spending, NATO is also expected to announce Europe handled 60% of total military aid deliveries to Ukraine last year, with the other 40% carried out by the US, according to the data shared with Euractiv. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday hailed the start of a renewed dialogue with the US, saying that the administration of President Donald Trump showed a pragmatism, a realistic view, and noting that it had abandoned the stereotypes and messianic ideological clichés of its predecessors. The first contacts with the new US administration encouraged certain hopes, Putin said at a meeting with top officials of the Federal Security Service, Russia's top domestic security agency. There is a mutual readiness to work to restore relations and gradually solve a colossal amount of systemic strategic problems in the global architecture, he said. According to Associated Press, he hailed the Russian troops fighting in Ukraine, saying that their courage and resilience had created the conditions for the beginning of talks on a peaceful settlement. He added that the resumption of US-Russian contacts vexed many in Europe and emphasized that Russian diplomats and security agencies should focus their efforts on resisting attempts to derail US-Russian talks.
Первые контакты с новой американской администрацией вселяют определенные надежды. Есть встречный настрой работать на восстановление межгосударственных отношений. Но постепенное решение колоссального объема накопившихся системных стратегических проблем в мировой архитектуре. А именно эти проблемы в свое время спровоцировали и украинские, и другие региональные кризисы. Важно, что наши сегодняшние партнеры демонстрируют прагматизм, реальный взгляд на вещи. Отказываются от многих стереотипов, так называемых правил и мессианских идеологических клише своих предшественников, которые, собственно, и привели к кризису всей системы международных отношений. Сегодняшние динамичные изменения в международном ландшафте – это в огромной степени результат мужества и стойкости наших вооруженных сил, наших героев. Именно они своей доблестью, своими ежедневными победами создали условия для начала серьезного диалога. Понимаем, что не всех устраивает возобновление российско-американских контактов. Часть западных элит по-прежнему настроена на сохранение нестабильности в мире. И эти силы будут пытаться сорвать или скомпрометировать начавшийся диалог. Мы это с вами видим. Нам нужно это учитывать и использовать все возможности дипломатии и специальных служб для срыва подобных попыток.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries vows Democrats will fight to protect the American people against the budget plan being pushed forward by Republicans. According to Associated Press, President Donald Trump wants the Republicans who control Congress to approve a massive bill that would extend tax breaks, which he secured during his first term but are expiring later this year, while also cutting spending across federal programs and services. House Republicans passed an ambitious budget blueprint for Trump's agenda earlier in the week. Congress has to turn the plans for $4.5 trillion in tax cuts and $2 trillion in slashed spending into a bill that can be passed by the House and Senate. Republicans say if they fail to act, the lower tax rates first approved in 2017 will expire, which would amount to a massive tax hike for many Americans. They believe keeping the tax cuts in place will partly pay for themselves, unleashing economic growth and fresh revenues, though others say those projections are optimistic. Democrats put up stiff opposition against the House GOP plan. One lawmaker dashed from California after a week's stay in the hospital and another returned to Washington for the vote with her newborn son. Democrats will spend the weeks ahead warning Americans what's at stake. Without steep cuts to federal programs, Republicans won't be able to claim the savings they need to offset the costs of the tax breaks. And without offsetting the costs, conservative GOP lawmakers won't want to vote for the final package.
Good morning, everyone. Earlier this week, House Democrats stood on the side of the American people. Every single member of the House Democratic Caucus stood on the side of the American people in opposing the reckless Republican budget scheme. The Republican budget will set in motion the largest cut to Medicaid in American history.
What do you make of that, and why do you think it's happening, and what should Democrats be doing?
That they deserve. Democrats will continue to stand on the side of the American people and stand against the reckless Republican budget that will end Medicaid as we know it, dramatically cut nutritional assistance for children, families, and veterans. And we will continue to stand up on behalf of the American people and against the far-right extremism that is being unleashed on the American people by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and House Republicans. New Yorkers are not going to be intimidated by Donald Trump, the administration, or any of... Democrats are prepared to identify waste, fraud, and abuse within agencies and departments across the federal government. Every organization, every institution should be scrutinized in a manner consistent with protecting taxpayer dollars. That is not what the DOGE effort is all about at this moment. Elon Musk and the DOGE minions that have been unleashed on the American people are actually stealing taxpayer data and stealing taxpayer money. Our position in terms of the budget and any agreement that we reach in connection with the American people has to protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits, the nutritional assistance provided to children and families all across America, and the American people. Hands off Social Security, hands off Medicare, hands off Medicaid. That's not a position that is new. It's a position that House Democrats articulated from the very beginning of this Congress on January 3rd when I spoke on the House floor. Republicans have a responsibility to fund the government in a manner that meets the needs of the American people. We are going to continue to work hard to ensure that any spending agreement that is reached ultimately looks out for the health, the safety, the national security, and the economic well-being of the American people. We're focused on the core issues that matter, focused on the economy, focused on affordability, focused on the housing crisis that exists in the United States of America, focused on the fact that under the Trump administration, costs haven't gone down, they've gone up. Inflation is going up. What happened to lower grocery prices on day one?